everyone and welcome. As you see in the title of the video, we are going to look at noun clauses. And you can see that we have a subtitle that says subject, object, and complements. And we are going to see them as that too. Now, as you see in the table of contents, we have three contents that says noun clauses beginning with that, and we're going to see them, as I told you, as a subject, as object, and complements. We also have noun clauses with question words, and we're going to see the use of embedded questions. And then we have noun clauses with whether or if, and we have the embedded yes no questions. That's easy. You're going to get. Before starting with the presentation or the video, we have to remember or review what is a noun clause. Well, we have right here that they are dependent clauses that act as a noun, but they can also act as a subject, direct or indirect objects, and complements. Before, we have to do a warm-up. Let's just analyze some sentences for you to get familiar with the content of the video. Let's look closely to these sentences. We have the first one that says that she wrote a book, surprised me. Okay. The second one is, I wonder where he lives. Then the third one, I believe that staying at home is crucial right now. And the fourth is, we don't know whether quarantine will be over in May or not. Okay, so let's look at the first one. It says that she wrote the book, surprised me. And we can look at the structure of the sentence. That she wrote the book is working as a subject and it's a noun clause. Then we can see the verb, and we have a pronoun right there. The pronoun is working as the direct object. Then we have the second one that says, I wonder where he lives. Well, right here we have an embedded question that we are going to look at them a little further in the video. And the third one we have, I believe that staying at home is crucial right now. And then we have, I believe, and that staying at home is crucial right now is working as the object of the sentence. We have the fourth one that says, we don't know whether quarantine will be over in May or not. And right here, the noun clause is working as the object of the sentence. So this, as I told you, is only for you to get closer with the content. And if you have any comment about this, you can add it to the comment section. Right here we have 2 points with examples. And the first point is that we use the word that to introduce a noun clause, yet it doesn't have a concrete meaning. So in this example, we can see it says, it's interesting that you have so many freckles. We can see the noun clause mark in bold, and we have it working as an object of the sentence. In the second point, we see that we can omit using that, but only in cases when the that introduces a complement or an object noun clause. For example, I believe humor is healthy, but we can also say, I believe that humor is healthy. And we have here the noun clause working as an object. And the second example is, I told her she was an intelligent person. But we can also say with that, I told her that she was an intelligent person. And here it's working as the noun clause is working as a complement. So now we have a little table. Right here we have separated subject, object, and complement. And let's review the sentences. And we can see clearly what the function of everyone, everything, right here, of the noun clauses. Okay. So we have a little table right here, and we have the subject, object, and complement separated with 2 examples each one. The subject. Let's review the first example. It says that he's innocent is obvious. We can see that he's innocent is the subject of the sentence. There it is followed. Then it's followed by a verb and then an adjective. It's pretty clear. Then we have that she was overwhelmed was clear. We have involved the noun clause working as a subject. Then we have an auxiliary verb, and then we have or a verb, and we have clear as an adjective. We can see that noun clauses are almost a complete idea. They express almost a complete idea, yet they need something else for them to be clear for everyone. So right now let's look at the object. Well, the first sentence says you can see that it doesn't work, but we can omit that you can see it doesn't work. The second one says she knows they work together, but we can also say she knows that they work together. And now we can go to the complement. The first sentence says the problem was people were not staying at home, but we can say the problem was that people were not staying at home. We can see in the complement that we have the problem as the subject, was the verb, and that people were not staying at home as a complement. That is a long complement, I know. And in the second sentence, we have it is important that you understand the state of our planet. And you can say that or not. And we have it, a pronoun, as the object, is a verb, and we have important as an adjective, and that you understand the state of our planet as a complement. It's really a long complement, I know. But now we are going to do some activities for you to understand and have a clearer idea of noun clauses. And right now we're going to listen to a popular song, and you may write in the comments the noun clauses that you see or that you hear, and you are going to classify them on subject, object. Now I want you to create some sentences, and we are going to choose a good noun clause for the following incomplete sentences. You might as well add a comment with your answers. Let's do a brief summary. Okay. The definition of a noun clause. We remember that a noun clause is a dependent clause that can is a noun, and we can use it as a subject, an object, or a complement. The use of the word that in the noun clause. We can omit it when we when we introduce a complement or an object noun clause, but it has to be there when it is a subject. Also, the word that doesn't have a meaning at all. Uh, okay, I said when we're gonna be using that. How to identify a subject, object, or a complement noun clause? It depends in the order of the sentence, and you actually can see it how it's ordered and how the verbs identify the verbs in the noun class, so it's very clear. I hope it help you a little bit, and I'm going to let you with Magaly, and she's going to explain you a little bit more about noun classes.
Okay, so hi, I'm going to be talking about noun clauses with question words. The first thing we need to know is that a question that is changed to a noun clause is called an embedded question. And embedded questions occur within a statement or another question. Like for example, I wonder where she is, or do you know where she lives? Embedded questions begin with WH questions, like, for example, who, where, what, why, how, when, and which. So, these WH questions plus subject plus the verb make a noun clause. Also, as well as these WH questions, we can use the words that, whatever, whether, whichever, whoever, who, and whomever. You can easily recognize the noun clauses if you see one of these words. It doesn't matter which one it is, you can easily recognize them. So, as we saw before, noun clauses work as three types: as a subject, as an object, and as a complement. So, an example of a, a noun clause as a subject, it could be what she said surprised me. Here you can see that the embedded question is working as the subject at the beginning of the sentence. What she said surprised me. The embedded question as an object, it could be, I don't know who lives there. There you can see that the embedded question works as the object of the sentence. As a little note, you have to take in count that a noun clause as a subject takes a singular verb. You have to make sure that it is a singular verb. Noun clauses that works as a complement can also work as two different types, as a subject and as an adjective. Working as a subject, it could be, our problem is that we don't understand online classes. In this sentence, you can see that this is working as the subject because you can easily change the accommodation of the sentence and it still has its meaning. For example, you could say that we don't understand online classes is our problem, and it has the same meaning. So, the embedded question working as a complement and as an adjective, it could be, Alex knows why Danny went to the store. Okay, so now I'm going to give you some other examples. For example, this question, how old is she? the noun clause with the embedded question would be, I wonder how old is she? Another example could be with the question, who are those men? And the noun clause with the embedded question would be, I don't know who those men are. The structure between the question and the embedded question changes. In the question, we can see that the verb is first and then comes the subject. And in the embedded question, first is the subject and then is the verb. In the other example, we can also see that in the question, first comes the verb and then is the subject. And in the embedded question is the subject, then the verb. And now it's time for you to do an activity. I'm going to give you this question and you're going to make the embedded question for this question. For example, the first one, how did they get here? Blank space is unknown. The answer could be, how they got there is unknown. The second The answer could be, how they got there is unknown. The second one, who is she? I don't know, blank space. The answer could be, I don't know who she is. The third one, Billy didn't win and everyone is sad because of that. Everyone is sad, blank space. The answer could be, everyone is sad that Billy didn't win. So now you know how to work with noun clauses with question words. So that will be all for my part. Thank you and continuing with this presentation.
Hi, I'm going to talk about noun clauses using whether or if. First of all, noun clauses using whether or if are used to introduce embedded yes/no questions. Whether and if have similar meanings, so they can be used interchangeably between each other. An example I have here of noun clauses using whether or ifs are, do you know if she went to school? Another one is, who knows whether she is here? As you can see, the answer to these questions are yes or no. You could answer the first one with yes, she went to school. And the next one you could say no, she is not here. Now, noun clauses with whether or if can be defined as subject, object, and complement of a sentence. When you use a noun clause as of a subject of a sentence, it's obviously what I just said is the subject of the whole sentence. For example, here, whether he loves me or not is important to me. Whether he loves me or not is the subject of this sentence. We have a little note here that says, you cannot start a subject noun clause with if. If you can see in the example, the sentence starts with whether he loves me or not. You cannot say if he loves me or not because it's a subject noun clause. Now, an object noun clause. When you use a noun clause as an object, of course, is the object of the whole sentence. For example, I care about if it's useful or not. If it's useful or not is the object of the sentence. As you can see, we have the or not between parentheses because you can add it, but it's not a necessary thing. Also, you can find them as complements, but there are two types of complements. There are subject of complement and adjective of complement. An example for subject of complement could be, the problem is whether she will like it or not. An example for adjective complement can be, he is uncertain whether this will end. Now let's have a little activity. I'm going to give you questions or sentences to correct or complete with whether or if. For example, here, is there a library here? The correct way or the answer to this one could be, do you know if or whether there is a library here? Now is your turn. Here are some sentences and they are halfway done, so you just have to complete them. I'm going to read the sentence to you and you're going to try to think about the answer. Are there any eggs in the fridge? I'm going to give you a little time so you can think about the answer to this one. And the answer could be, do you know if whether there are any eggs in the fridge? The next sentence is, will the exam be difficult? Let's take a little time for you to think about the answer. The answer to this one is, I wonder if whether the exam will be difficult. Now, this one is more of a correction, not so much of a changing of sentence. If I don't find my book, it's irrelevant. I'm going to give you a little time to think about this correction. Okay, so the correction will be, whether if I find my book or not is irrelevant. Here is whether because in the sentence it is a subject noun clause. And as we saw, a subject noun clause cannot start with if. So next. Remember that whether and if are similar in meaning, and they can replace each other in all but subject noun clauses. In subject noun clauses, we only use whether. And remember that whether or not can replace whether in all noun clauses. So it's time for a little wrap up. Let's answer these sentences. I'm going to give you 4 sentences like this one and a multiple choice of 4. I'm going to read the sentence to you and you're going to pick the answer. So number 1, a person who is telling a joke needs to remember blank the key details. The options are A, the fact that, B, that, C, why, and D, what. I'm going to give you a little time for you to think about this one. The answer to sentence number 1 is D, what. So the whole sentence would be, a person who is telling a joke needs to remember what the key details are. Next, this sentence reads, I'm impressed by blank. Phil showed up to help. The options to this one are A. That. B. The fact that. C. What. And D. We'll leave it as a blank. I'm going to give you a little time to think about the answer to this one. The answer to number 2 would be B. The fact that. I'm impressed by the fact that Phil showed up to help. Sentence number 3. Most people don't think blank airline pilots have a sense of humor. The options for this ones are A. Nothing. B. What. C. The fact that. And D. Whether. I'm going to give you some time for you to think about the answer. The answer to sentence number 3 would be A. Leave it blank. Most people don't think airline pilots have a sense of humor would be the correct sentence. Sentence number 4 and last one is blank. She understood the joke is questionable. The options for this one are A. If. B. Whatever. C. Whether or not. And D. Nothing. I'm going to give you a little time to think about the answer to this one. The answer to number 4 would be C. Whether or not. And the sentence would be whether or not she understood the joke is questionable. And that's it for this video. I hope that it actually helped you and that you have had a great time with this. Thank you.